Welcome to Raj Kotecha Show, #1 podcast in Dubai. And joining me, as always, is Vic, but he literally left 5 seconds ago because his night is crazy. He will be on the podcast and back like he never left. I'm telling you, if this podcast is made up of different characters, let's say I'm the breath of fresh air, then Alex is here. He would be the morning breath. How are you, Alex? It's good to have you back on the show.
I'm good. Yeah, it is good to be back after 2 weeks, you know?
What happened? You slept through last week. What's your excuse?
I honestly don't have an excuse. There's no excuse to be made, you know?
They're just, I'm young and I need to make all my mistakes now as I'm a teenager.
There we go.
Yeah, good stuff. It's good to have you back. Alex, we're actually hanging out with your dad this week. Next week.
Next week, right? Yeah, my dad told me.
Yeah.
Is it for the +1?
Yeah, doing some big business stuff. Yeah, we're not going to speak about it on the podcast because it's just too huge. But yeah, so looking forward to that. And yeah, for everybody else, it's an incredible episode. We talk about some superb stories today, including a huge announcement for Lovesoul. We are going to be, well, you know what? Just wait till after the music you're going to hear, as well as Advertisers returning to Amazon. Elon Musk has threatened to punch Kanye, or at least suggested that he felt like doing it. We'll talk about what that means. The UAE has pulled in $2.9 million this year in hotel earnings. We're going to break that down. Kevin Hart's going on tour again. Jay-Z is suing Bacardi because he's trying to sell off some shares, and it looks like Bacardi's trying to lowball him. We'll break that story down, as well as the hype around OpenAI. Yep, there's a chatbot that does real work for you if you ask it, and a little touch of Kanye stuff along the way as well. As far as like content recommendations, bit of comedy, a lot of comedy, and a big shout out for one of our former clients, one of the 4Ps graduates, who is wrapping up her radio show this week. We're going to give her props, give her flowers. We're going to talk a bit about football. And I think that pretty much covers everything, right, Alex?
Yeah, that's everything.
Do you enjoy the show?
Great show.
All right, it's time to let people listen to it. Run the music. All right, welcome to the Raj Kotecha Show. Whew, man, big announcement to make. Super secret announcement. In fact, this announcement is so secret that we are making it today. Technically, we're sharing it ahead of the embargo time with the only person we can share it with for the sake of the podcast, knowing that this will not go out until Friday afternoon. Does that make sense, Alex?
Yep, makes sense.
Okay, so here's the news. Let's see if you can guess it. And then for the micro on Instagram, I'll like formally announce it. But for everyone listening on the podcast, we're going to play a little bit of a guessing game.
Okay.
So the announcement has to do with Lovesoul and SoleDXB. That's the first level of clue.
Then like the first thought that jumps to mind is Lovesoul's doing a gig at SoleDXB.
Okay, so you think like one of the sets, right? So we are not doing a set.
Or in part of with like the little you know how there's stands around in different companies and stuff. I'm sure some of them would allow you to perform there.
So that's the framing of that. Is I'm sure some of them.
I'm sure in some worlds.
Yeah, I'm sure. Like, yeah, if you had a medical note or something and explained your situation, that they'd probably give you a pass. They'd let you move to the front of the queue. Which of the brands in Dubai do you think would be the one that we would be performing at?
It's a good question.
It is a good question. You might need to use your head.
Something I don't do often.
Yeah.
I haven't even looked at a list of all the brands that are coming to SoleDXB. So that, that would have been a start.
Yeah, it would be a start. I mean, but sometimes the answer could be right in front of you.
Yeah. There you go. I literally clocked it as soon as you started saying that.
Right.
Damn,
yeah.
So
yeah, that's good, right? Okay, so I'm gonna give you a breakdown of what it is, and then Vic, I'm gonna hand over to you. So big announcement: Lovesoul DJs. Okay, let me do this right, so I can actually like mix it in with a little bit of something for the Instagram. Okay, so huge announcement today on the podcast: the Lovesoul DJs are going to be performing live for the first time ever, 2 DJ sets. 4 o'clock and 2:30, which is on Saturday and Sunday at SoleDXB at the AmongstFew stand. It's going to be incredible. For me personally, as you know, This is a brand that I've been wearing from their first drop. I love the brand. I don't buy any branded clothes, really. I prefer to brand my own. But this is one company that I've been super loyal to. We've been involved with them in other capacities before, at previous SoleDXBs when they did the collaboration with Biggs for Rockefeller. That was very good. But this one, we're actually going to be DJing there at SoleDXB itself. I'm super hyped. For me, it feels like a full circle event. I might be the most hyped person about this. I know other DJs do things with other brands all year round, and that's how they keep the lights on. We don't DJ for a living. For us, this is just a vibe. And we're going to be sharing the bill with some incredible artists like Parvane and Crown Prince, all of which are phenomenal. And they are in their lane, and we don't cross over into theirs, and they don't cross over into ours. So the way they put this bill together of DJs is just superb. And we are with some incredible, like, music lovers and DJs at the brand that I love the most here in the city, aside from the ones that we create, of course. So I'm feeling good. Vic, where is your head at? This is the first time we DJed in 6 months since my birthday party. Obviously, where possible, over the last 15 years, we always DJ in a situation where people can come and consume it for free. But this is going to be something big for anybody who's got a ticket for SoleDXB this week.
So I'm super excited because there's a couple of things. Number one, it's my first time going to Seoul DXB in the 6 years that I've lived here, which is not something that I would have expected of myself. So it's a little bit disappointing in myself. However, I'm going this weekend and it's great. And Shayla and Nene, my wife and my son are coming as well. But it adds that, like, being able to DJ adds that extra layer of like excitement for the event. And then doing it with or in collaboration with AmongstFew adds that additional layer of excitement for me, because again, as you quite rightly said, AmongstFew, in my opinion, is the best kind of homegrown brand, like the best homegrown organic brand in the region. That's my opinion. I think that the way that they do things is really stylistic. It's very, very, very kind of in touch with the culture. And I just love the way they do their stuff. So I'm really pleased to have been asked, and I'm really grateful. Musically, I think we've discussed the music for some time now over the last kind of few days, and it will help me take me back to sort of a little bit of my roots in terms of what I'm going to play. I don't know if I should really speak about it now, but just come along and listen. But I'm going to kind of lean more towards where my passion of music is, which is kind of more around the kind of 90s hip hop and dancehall and that kind of era of music.
Yep. So
Excited,
once again, so just to double reiterate, if you're planning your timing, if you're going to be coming to SoleDXB, it's going to be the Lovesoul DJs, a special performance on both Saturday and Sunday. Saturday from 4 till 5:30, Sunday from 2:30 to 4 at the AmongstFew area, pavilion, whatever it is they got. We know what they're creating. We're not going to talk about that on the podcast. What we do know is it's going to be incredibly special, and a big congratulations to them as well for their collaboration that they've just announced today, in fact, to the whole world, which is their collaboration with Power Horse, right? That's what they're called?
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah.
Which is an energy drink. So big up to them. That whole campaign looks incredible. When AmongstFew is on their SoleDXB wave, it's super special. So what you're going to get is the biggest brand in the region at the most important cultural event in the region, with the biggest DJs. It's going to be just incredible. So I can't wait for you guys. I can't wait for you guys to come along. Make sure that you're at the stand at those times, and we will be having a good old time. Also, for folks listening, I'll be at the Def Jam booth as well, which is 2:00 on Saturday. I'll be doing a 15-minute interview with my dear friend Marzi and a 30-minute DJ set. So a lot of music being spread around. My first time actually participating in Soul in any significant way, other than just being with certain artists that are passing through, friends of ours. So yeah, really excited, super happy. We're starting off on a good buzz. Alex, this should be the FOMO event of the year for you, because you know that you would be like guest list up, VIP'd up, camera in hand.
Yeah, I also know that, like, I've been to Seoul 2 years, and it was something that I really enjoyed. And I know going again after having been off for so many years would have been like super nice.
Alex, what are your first timer tips for Vic, being that you've been to SoleDXB already a couple of times?
I mean, I guess you're going to be there for different / same purposes as me, like some different, some same. And I think you're going to be there with Ine and Shayla, right? I'd assume so.
Yeah, they're gonna come for like part of it, like some of Saturday, some of Sunday. Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool. Well, I'm sure you're gonna be doing, at least when Ine is there, you're gonna be following him around and doing what he wants to do. So you're not gonna really.
Good point.
Or maybe you force him to do what you want to do.
Well, it's interesting. That's an interesting point. I was thinking about that, and when they say, when you see something through a child's eyes, like when they see something for the first time, you're like, okay, I can remember what it was like experiencing that or seeing that for the first time. We're both going into Soul like that. So I can't even guide him as to like, oh, you need to go and check this out or check that out. We'll both be kind of discovering what Soul is for the first time together. And I think that's pretty awesome.
Yeah,
that's
for sure.
incredible.
And has the layout been released yet? Because I know, like, you remember it was like Tokyo, I think 3-4 years ago.
The theme, no.
Theme. It hasn't been released, right?
Yeah, they've had like an island theme before, like based in like dancehall culture, and then they had the Tokyo one. I do not know what the theme is, which is interesting. I think it might be something around the kind of arabesque kind of vibe, because they've got a central host for the first time. And so I think we're going to see a lot of that influence aesthetically. And based on last week's podcast, we were talking about Middle Beast and all these other things that are coming up in the region. I think there's never been a better time or an open lane to embrace the kind of Arab aesthetic while still having all these other incredible elements like Bass coming, Ari Lennox coming, Natasha Diggs coming. So it's going to be very, very nice. So yeah, we're excited to announce that. Cannot wait. Once again, those timings are, make sure you get there. It's going to be, what time did I say? Man, I'm losing my mind already. So the timing is going to be...
Saturday is 4 p.m. to 5:30.
Yeah.
And then Sunday is 2 p.m. till 3:30. Did I get that right?
No, the timing is Saturday, 4 p.m. to 5:30, and Sunday, 2:30 till 4.
Got it.
So it's 2 90-minute sets. Me and Vic will be breaking them up, and just come and have a good time. Also, from what I understand as well, the upper deck of AmongstFew is going to be licensed. We're going to have a good old time because there's going to be drinks flowing, cool people. We're probably going to send messages out to the My Friends, Your Friends community as well. So anybody who overlaps that's in the community that wants to come down and hang out with us, make sure you do that. Okay, great. Let's get into some stories. We're going to have Vic moderate today. So Vic's got the docket.
Yeah, man. So the first news is big news coming out of Twitter world. And Elon Musk put out a little tweet, a few days ago, saying, just a note to thank advertisers for returning to Twitter. So some time ago when he took over Twitter and all the advertisers basically ran away and said, we're not going to advertise with you. It seems like apparently that they're all going to come back, starting with Amazon and Apple. Now, I will caveat this by saying that they've declined to comment. Amazon and Apple haven't actually said officially that they're coming back and advertising. I think it's inevitable, but this is from the tweet of Elon Musk on December the 4th. So a couple of things to actually note. Apple is its largest advertiser. In the first quarter of this year alone, they spent $48 million on advertising. Amazon it's suggested that Amazon will apply around $100 million of advertising into Twitter next year. So for Twitter's sake and for Elon's sake, I hope it's true. Like they're going to need the revenue. They're going to need the money. This little $8 thing is not going to cut it. So what do you think, Raj? I mean, do you think it's true? Do you think they're going to come back?
I heard on Pivot, Kara Swisher was saying that it was basically all theatrics, that Elon was saying that Twitter might get taken off the Apple platform, off App Store. That was never confirmed by anybody other than Elon. It's just him ranting. And I think he was just trying to be in the news cycle as he tries to do a couple of times a week. He then went over to Apple HQ. He had a walk around with Tim Cook. There was some press opportunities. Tim was not in any videos. I don't even believe he was in any stills, but he might have been because I've not seen the actual story. And it was just kind of one of those moments where I feel like Tim Cook was like, okay, it's our turn to be in Elon's news cycle. We're going to deal with it with class and humility and a bit of grace, and we're just going to keep it moving. So I don't think that it's, switching Apple's advertising down from several tens of millions down to zero. It's just too much of a swing, regardless of what the economic condition is. Same with Apple, because there are an increasing amount of eyeballs now on Twitter. They're kind of going through their second kind of renaissance. So yeah, I think one thing that Elon's not factored in by being in the news all the time is what the damaging effect of fatigue is, because when it comes to generating PR, when you actually hit that moment of fatigue in consumers' eyes, it's like being really, really active in the gym, overdoing it in the gym, and then catching an injury. And there is no coming back to the gym until that injury is healed. What Elon's doing right now is Elon's being one of those guys that wants to be in the gym 3 times a day before breakfast, lunch, and dinner. What he doesn't realize is that he is going to wear down the attention of people online. That's going to lead to fatigue, a solid, permanent or semi-permanent fatigue. That's the equivalent of being injured when you're in the gym. And then people are going to be like, listen, we only have so much attention to give you, Elon. We've only got so much time with everything else that's going on in the world. A lot of talk about recession next year, a lot of stuff going on in terms of like the global, climate change and wars and things of that nature. And eventually people are going to be like, you know what? I need to put Elon on mute. In fact, I had a meeting this morning with a great dude, and he said that he muted Elon recently because he was just like, it's just not valuable. It's not new. It's noiseworthy, but it's not newsworthy. And that's the biggest threat to Elon right now, is that it's a lot of the signal to noise ratio is actually off. You have to really cut through a lot of crap to get something valuable from this man right now.
Yeah, but I mean, go on, Alex.
I was just going to say, how long do you think it'll take until people stop caring?
I think we've probably seen the tip, well, not the tipping point, but we've probably seen it start happening now. I think next year, when people get their credit card bills in January and February, and people are like, okay, what does my actual earning capacity and potential look like next year, being that fuel prices and food prices and everything is going to be a little bit higher. And I think they're going to realize that they're going to have to focus on really what makes their life tick and their home life tick. And spending 20, 30 minutes less on social media a day might be one of those things. Now that's just that's just a behavioral thing anyway. Like that also means people are going to go out to restaurants less. I know this holiday season with the family right now, I'm already hacking and saying, okay, do we need to all spend 400 to 700 dirhams on Christmas lunch, which includes drinks, or do we just go for the same Christmas lunch for like 250 and then come back to my place and drink then? Like, not that drinking is the thing. I don't want to make it about that, but like, can we just not have the drinks with our meal between 1 and 4? And between us, if we all come back to my place, that's like 1,500 dirhams we've not handed over a restaurant's counter to do what? To drink a little bit between 1 and 4? It's not worth it. So I think what happens is when you feel, it's almost like where we are right now with the recession and the economy next year is, it's not time to change clothes and add layers, but what people are doing is they're buttoning up their jumpers. So they're not necessarily outwardly changing what's on their surface area by adding jackets and preparing for this cold winter, like this cold downturn. But what they are doing is they're adjusting what they do have to make it a little bit more appropriate for the fact that they can feel a bit of a cold breeze coming, across the way. That's my 2 cents.
I'm just worried that you button up your jumpers.
Yeah,
that's a cause of concern for me. But the thing that you're saying about fatigue, I think that's really important for anyone that's in the public eye. If you're not providing valuable content, and look, there are many creators out there that I find extremely valuable for me, whether it be personally or professionally. And we've spoken about it recently with someone, Tim Ferriss, James L. Torture. I sometimes, and I'm really like a heavy listener of those 2 guys, but I have to take a break sometimes because I do get a bit of fatigue on their style or maybe their topics or what they're talking about. But in saying that, I think Elon's not at the tipping point of that yet. I think he's still got a long way to go. He's got this knack of saying stuff on Twitter or just saying stuff as a kind of law of attraction type situation. He's like, let me put it out there and see if I can make it happen for me. And, invariably he does. But then also at the same time, when you think about the mind shares you were talking about, Raj, if people are going into the recession next year and, where they spend their time, money, and, their attention is obviously going to be really important. But someone like Elon, if he does it the right way, and it's just not this constant barrage, and he's quite strategic about it, people will still give him the attention because it's this kind of break away from the norm, or maybe the hardships or the difficulties. And most people aren't really going to do any kind of critical thinking about Elon's tweets, or form any like real in-depth opinion, or maybe talk about it on a podcast like we do. Most people are just going to go, oh, he just said something silly, fine, move on. And it's just like this moment just to kind of release, like a little pressure cooker. And I think that's where people are going to treat it.
Can I ask you a question then? Can I take you into a parallel universe? I'll ask this to both of you, right? So Elon, what was it called? Y Combinator. Sam Altman is the founder of Y Combinator, which is, Alex, it's a incubator, a very famous one that has a whole bunch of money and from different VCs, and they're meant to do like micro investments. They get some equity from the company, and then they kind of grow these little seedlings of companies en masse, and then some of them go on to do great things. I think Airbnb was one such company that joined this incubator. So Sam Altman, serious guy in the tech industry. Sam Altman back in 2015 created a company called OpenAI, and the co-founder of that was Elon Musk. I think in a parallel universe where Elon had not bought Twitter this week, Elon would have been celebrated through the roof. It would have been another hit record for him. You know what I mean? It's like it would have added to the catalog, because we've got the Boring Company, super interesting, SpaceX, super interesting, Tesla, super interesting, stuff with robots, great. I think OpenAI would have just graduated to that Mount Rushmore league of things that he's involved in. But I think everyone is so distracted right now by Elon, Twitter, direct full contact combat with Kanye, direct full combat contact with Trump, that actually he wasn't even able to get some of that limelight put on him. And for anybody who's managed to use GPT 3.5, the latest OpenAI chatbot, you'd be like, man, that's pretty cool. I'd definitely like give Elon a high five for his involvement in that. Have either of you had a chance to use it yet?
No, I have not used it yet.
Vic, what did you think of it?
I think it's great. I think it's amazing. I've not been sitting there like for hours on end using it, but I did what you said earlier today. I looked at like some kind of terms and just put in some like keywords that I wanted, and it gave me something quite interesting back. I've done I asked for it to write some like content for like landing pages and just like website stuff, and just seeing how it would kind of fire it back to me. And I thought it was brilliant. It's not going to give me 100% of what I need, of course, but it will give me enough to inspire me to write what I need to write. I think it's a really, really aggressively smart tool.
You know what, Vic, earlier on I said, let me show you something. And you said, no, show me later because you're busy with something. Let me read it out to you, right? Because obviously copywriting is one of the most common use cases, whether it be copywriting essays for you or stuff like that. By the way, Alex, huge arb when it comes to getting this AI to write all your articles for you for university. I think you'll be getting straight first all the way through by just asking it to write you paragraphs and pages. But our friend Haroon Khan, as you know, Vic, he said, so this guy basically said it far better than I could, but yeah, what he said and what this chap said that he reposted on LinkedIn, a guy called Jay Akunzo, he asked the question in his status 9 hours ago, will AI disrupt writers? Good, fair question. It's something we're all asking. He goes, if you white label your writing, and it could be basically anyone in your niche, then AI is a replacement. If you understand how to imbue your writing with things that are uniquely your own, then AI is your intern. And so, I mean, we can talk about what Vic was doing earlier on. We're actually looking for clauses, for contracts, for agreements, because as we start doing business with bigger and bigger companies, we've got to make sure that as we deal with bigger spec events, that we put certain things in our contracts. And so if you're doing something which is generic like everybody else, like a clause, then yeah, you'd much rather go to OpenAI than pay a lawyer for half an hour to write you a paragraph. But, you know, I was doing some work this week in AI and like logic-based writing. And I did use GPT 3.5 to at least get me off the starter block when it came to figuring out what I wanted to write about and what I didn't. So I would ask OpenAI, hey, listen, what's your position on this? What's your position on that? And then I would look at it, reflect on it and say, based on everything that OpenAI has brought us, what's our position as an agency on it? And then I would just take the parts that mattered and I would include it in this app that we're building. So yeah, it was really, really dope. I think Vic's frozen, has he?
No, he's here.
Oh, is he? Okay, you had frozen on my screen. So that's where we're using it. So I guess that touches on Elon and OpenAI. Is there anything else Elon related this week? It was probably another busy week for him.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't know much about this, but Elon Musk was on. It looks like he was on a live Twitter.
He was on Spaces.
He was on Spaces. Sorry, yeah, the name just lost. And there's like a 21-second clip where he's talking about the incitement of violence, and then he finishes it off by saying that he wanted to punch Kanye.
Did you hear it? Did you hear the note that he put out?
Yeah, I heard it. What do you think, Alex? Like, we've not really touched base on the Kanye thing with you for a while.
Let's summarize it for the listener who's not heard it. So it's essentially, Elon took Kanye off Twitter because you're not allowed to incite violence as part of the terms and conditions. Elon said that he felt that some of the outlandishly terrible stuff that Elon posted, that Kanye posted this week, graphical material, was so offensive that it could incite violence. And the way that he kind of drove that point all the way home is it said it actually made him feel like he wanted to punch Kanye. Therefore, that is inciting violence. So yeah, that's the situation. Let's just throw in the other half of the Kanye story here, which is that in the last 24 hours, he released an audio clip of what sounds like the old Kanye that many of us know and love, like early 2000s Kanye. But a record definitely sounds like a good record. At the end, again, there's a lot of trolling. He's using a lot of stuff from interviews and stuff like that that really upset people. He's not going to be able to reverse it. But yeah, all that considered, yeah, Alex, what do you think?
I mean, I think I don't know how to wait. Just give me 2 seconds on how to phrase this.
Okay, just gather your thoughts, Vic. What's your position?
Yeah, Vic.
Yeah, listen, you guys all know, and everyone that listens knows my thoughts on this. I don't care if he, like, this record was very good. But I don't care. Like, I listened to it because we're going to talk about it today. If we weren't going to talk about it, I probably wouldn't have listened. No, I definitely wouldn't have listened to it. That's exactly where I stand.
But what about the fact that, I mean, it's weird, right? Because you're almost like talking about this kind of like mutation of news stories, because Kanye wants to stay in the news, Elon wants to stay in the news, and occasionally they occupy the same news story. So when Kanye gets kicked off Twitter and then Elon brings him back, and then he gets kicked off again, and then he comes back, and then Elon personally says, hey, I gave this guy plenty of opportunities. We've now had to cut him off, and this is the clause, and this is the reason, and this is how it made me feel. It's kind of like almost like two things that you want to mute. The way I feel about this story is like, in an orchestra, there'll be certain instruments that you like, and there'll be certain instruments that you don't like the sound of, or that you think are pointless. This week, based on the kind of year that we've had, and it's been a long, hard year with a lot of ups and downs, but the downs are going to be quite long-term downs. It's like hearing the two instruments in an orchestra that I don't want to hear. It's like, take out all the instruments I do want to hear, take out all of the Scott Galloway's, take out all of the All In podcast, take out all of the This Week in Startups or CoinDesk or every group chat podcast, take out all of that valuable content that's online, and then focus just on two attention seekers who are simultaneously seeking attention. It's like two horrible instruments both playing at the same time. The rest of the orchestra is switched off.
It's two violinists playing out of key, out of tune, basically. And that's all you can hear, because all the rest is in perfect harmony. And it's just these two violinists just playing in like weird key, like just off key completely. Yeah, I mean, look, I don't really have much to say about it, to be honest with you. Everyone, like, it's just, it only hits my radar, this stuff, when it comes into our editorial group. Yeah.
What about you, Alex? Have you got a position?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just interesting to see that for the first, or at least for the first big time, Elon Musk goes on the side of not freedom of speech and actually putting, like, deciding like this point is too much. Because in the past, from the point he was trying to get Twitter, is always freedom of speech #1, things like that. And this is the first time where he kind of goes against that and says that he wanted to punch Kanye for what he said.
And when somebody says they want to punch something, what's crazy about that, and I think what does allow that to cross over into newsworthy, is that it creates a visual in people's minds.
For
like
sure,
it would be quite interesting right now for someone to use one of these AI movie creators or 6-second video creators to be like, make me a video of Elon punching Kanye and just see like what the AI comes up with. Also, just real quick, I just touched on this kind of almost by mistake, but I want to share it with people because I want to give away kind of like essentially what it is that allows me to have like so many positions. Obviously, I'm active in business and I have a lot of like interest and I consume a lot of content. But interestingly, this week, Spotify released Spotify Wrapped. And so I just like to share mine with people. And mine, as you guys can see on the screen, it's pretty freaking predictable, but I'll just read it out for you. Number 5 is This Week in Startups, which is almost like a daily show now at this point, which is hosted by Jason Calacanis, who's my former boss's boss, and Molly Wood, who's one of my favorite all-time like joint co-hosts of when it comes to talking about tech and journalism. Number 4 was the CoinDesk podcast, which is just an incredible, brilliant kind of podcast that everything to do with macroeconomics, but very, very short, crypto, security, government policy. Number 3 is Pivot, one of my all-time crushes, Kara Swisher, mental brain crushes, with one of my favorite thought leaders, Scott Galloway. He's not always right. I feel like both of them don't know how to pronounce words superbly well, but I've always felt like they approach stories with respect and humor, and I love it. Number 2 is the All In podcast with, again, Jason Calacanis, Chamath, David Sachs, and David Friedberg. And then number 1 is Group Chat. Big up to our friends over there, D and Anand and Drama, who we've not met. But number 1 podcast, it's been my number 1 listened to podcast for the last 2-3 years. And so I just want to basically share that with people and say, these are probably quantitatively, these are my 5 biggest news sources when it comes to podcasts. Obviously, I'm in the content industry and I'm a huge content nerd, so I consume way more than the average person. But if you're looking for something to get into or you're looking at changing up your content diet, why not check out some of the stuff that I listen to? Have you guys seen your Spotify Wrapped for this year?
Yeah.
What was yours, Alex?
In terms of podcasts or
yeah, let's go with podcasts. Yeah. It'd be interesting to hear
the
music side as well, but we spoke about that on a previous podcast, but yeah, podcast side. Yeah.
Yeah. Podcast number 1 was Group Chat. Number 2 was Diary of a CEO. Number 3 was All In. Number 4, Gary V. And then 5 was, I don't remember.
Okay, find it on your phone if you can whilst we head over to Vic. Vic, have you seen your Spotify Wrapped? Oh, Vic doesn't consume podcasts on Spotify, so your data is not going to be. Yeah. Okay.
No, I don't. I listen to it on a different app called Pocket Casts. I don't use Spotify. I hate listening to Spotify podcasts on Spotify. I cannot stand it. It's just something that I just hate it so much. But I listen to Pocket Casts. I find it so much easier.
Okay,
but group chat will definitely be in my top 5 if I had one. It will definitely be in my top 5.
What is did Spotify at least tell you what music you listen to? I know you told us this story midweek. You said that it's mixed up because your Spotify is attached to your Alexa, and anybody in the house just uses your Alexa as a jukebox, right?
Yeah. So I'll give you an example. We drove home from football today. I picked up Ine from his football practice, and he's like, "Can I, get the aux?" So he played Spotify. So the first record that he played was the Armani White record.
Okay.
Then he went into Imagine Dragons record.
Yeah.
Then he played a Louis Theroux Jiggle Jiggle thing. And then he played a AC/DC record. And then he finished it off with that It's Corn Kid that they made a song out of.
Oh, wow.
So he played literally like 45 seconds of each one. So whatever came to his head, he was like, I'm going to play this. So then you can imagine between that and what I listen to, it's super varied. And then when I have like people around, guests, I have like a whole mix of stuff. So my Spotify is not necessarily indicative of me as an individual, but more as like my entire family, which is very, very varied.
Nice. And Alex, do you find that 5th podcast? What's your number 5
fifth one is Joe Rogan Experience.
Ah, nice. That's a good mix.
Yeah, it's not bad. I think it's like, I'd say all of the ones, like common ones.
What how many of your friends do you reckon listen to the All In podcast or Group Chat?
I mean, Group Chat and All In, it's just Nick that you guys know, Sextol Nick. He listens to both.
You know what's weird? That All In, I believe, recently has hit either position 13, 14, or 16 on the global charts for podcasting. It's becoming
number 16. Number 16.
That's big.
That's seriously a lot of power, man. That's a collective of voices that's really doing it.
Look at Alex all grown up, man. Listening to grown up podcasts at the age of 19.
I only started listening to podcasts for real. I think like on the daily, it was when you guys told me about group chat a bit over a year ago.
Oh, good.
Oh, wow.
Well, we're happy. You really couldn't choose a better one. Okay,
right,
good.
Exactly.
Brilliant. Yeah, exactly. So brilliant. Let's get into some more news. We've only got Vic for another 7 minutes, and then Alex, it's me and you, Thelma and Louise, riding over the edge of the cliff or whatever happens in that movie. All right, Vic, hit us with whatever story you'd want to discuss as your final one.
Yeah, so actually I've got about 17 minutes now. So actually local good news. So in the UAE, this report has come out. Well, at least some news articles have come out that the UAE has attracted over $2.9 billion. And we were discussing this the other day, is in hotel earnings this year.
Wow.
So it's effectively the top tourist destination globally in regards to like hotel earnings. Now, when I first saw the article a few days ago, it was kind of a bit more around tourism, and we weren't sure how that was broken up. But as I see some more articles, it's just around hotel earnings. So that really kind of propels Dubai, UAE in its entirety as probably the number one destination for people to come to, not just historically, but now people are going to be like, okay, why are so many people going to Dubai? Why is so many people spending that much money on this is just hotels. This is not F&B, retail, amusement parks, et cetera, all the activities that you can have in Dubai, the sand dunes and all that kind of stuff. None of that. This is just on hotel rooms. And if you imagine that it's like 135% increase from last year. So last year, last quarter they spent, it was 20 million. The first quarter of this year was 20 million. And last year, the same time span was 8.6 million. It's 135% increase in just like quarter on quarter, year on year. And that's a huge increase.
Let's put a barrier around that and really look at what some of the reasons are. I found this stat really interesting, which is that just in Q1 of 2022, there was 6 million visitors to the UAE, which clocked up between them 25 million hotel nights. So that means on average, everybody probably did around four and a quarter hotel nights on average. And that is that's a 10% uplift on the same time in 2019, which was the last truly open quarter of trade that tourism had here in Dubai. Now, there's probably a couple of reasons. I'll throw a couple out. I'm sure I'm going to miss some, but obviously the post-COVID response by Dubai in terms of getting the city back online, that was definitely an up variable in the beginning of this year. That brought in a lot of revenue, I'm sure. Here being one of the first top destinations for the Russians when they left Russia, they're not just going to naturally move into villas the first day. They're going to need hotels. So I think that probably helped with a lot of revenue. And I'm sure a lot of these people were actually also prepared to overpay as well. So that would have helped like with the average daily room rate. It's been very, very warm and welcoming for crypto. And I think a lot of people last year in other markets, and again, gets to my first point again, is that if there were some sort of like lockdowns and restrictions in the West where it's cold, the incentive is absolutely there to come to Dubai. And at the time, interest rates were effectively zero. Like, interest rates were very, very low. People were still spending like it was as if we were going into the roaring 20s, which we're certainly not now. And it was all eyes on Dubai. And Dubai did incredibly well to be, receptive to all these types of business simultaneously, because there is a compound effect when you come here and see other people having a great time and you go, hang on a second, I'm going to go back and tell people. And it looks like they managed to draw that momentum right out into the final quarter of the year, where there is actually a lot of people here to come and either experience the World Cup here in Dubai in phenomenally beautiful conditions, or use Dubai as a gateway to head over to Qatar for a day or two, go and check out the football they've got tickets for, and then come back to Dubai and continue to kick it. I wonder if there's anything I've missed out.
Yeah, I agree with all of those points. And there's two more things. One is the overall Dubai brand, like brand Dubai, as we've mentioned many times on the podcast, their like marketing of Dubai, which has a, you know, a positive knock-on effect to the rest of the UAE, has been exceptional. And a lot of it's come from, you know, the post-COVID or what, you know, how COVID was handled. But I think the other thing that's supported the hotels specifically is the real estate investment. So now we've seen a huge boom over the last 2 years in real estate investment, as we know, and we've spoken about before. But again, similarly, as you mentioned about people that are coming in, they need a hotel to stay in first. Well, when real estate investors come, they're going to stay in a hotel to then go and do their viewings and legal and paperwork and whatever they need to do. They're going to stay in a hotel. So I think that's probably given it a really big boost as well, in terms of people coming in and just booking hotel rooms for a week. 4 nights is pretty typical for someone that's coming to look for a property based on our knowledge and experience.
And in typical situation, everybody came in and Alex left. Alex leaving is probably the reason why a lot of people came in.
Well, we didn't consider that as an option. Yeah, that's probably very true. Yeah. How's Amsterdam right now? Is it empty?
That's a good one. That's a good one.
Thank you.
No, how is Amsterdam right now? Is it popping heading into the festive season?
I don't know. I think because the weather here isn't too great during winter, like it rains like a pretty decent amount. I'd say all the tourists know to come after like it stops raining. So I haven't seen an increase from like 2-3 months ago to now. But I did see a huge decrease from when I first arrived in summer and like a month or after that.
Let me ask you a question, Alex. You know, we talk a lot about UAE, Dubai, and you know, kind of all the kind of positive things that happen here. When you tell people that you grew up in Abu Dhabi, you lived there, and you moved to Dubai, and all that kind of stuff, how do your peers respond that aren't from here? Like any students or anyone that you might meet, how do they respond? Do they give you like, oh right, I didn't know, you know, what's their response?
I think it's a few different things. I think one thing is like, oh wow, that's like so weird to hear that like you grew up all the way over there, and like because you just don't meet that many people who grew up over there, I guess. And then second of all is they always say they want to go, and I guess it's just something that like worldwide, Dubai is the place that you like want to visit at least once in your life.
So do they proactively say to you,
yes,
oh, always wanted to visit Dubai or something like that?
For sure. I would say more than like more than half of the people that I'd speak to directly say that they would love to go there one day.
Wow.
Do you tell them you're one of the city boys in the city, one of the hot boys?
I can't. No.
Just say I want to show you. Do you say I want to show you how hot I am in Dubai? Check out some of the parties and celebrities I've hung out with, and then they go to your Instagram and they realize it's just all fucking drones.
It's just drones, yeah. and then they think I'm an absolute nerd.
That's so funny.
You need a separate account for all the cool stuff you've done. You're just like, that's all your Instagram is. It's just that.
I had a separate account originally for my drone stuff, but I just decided to move it over to my main.
You made it part of your identity.
There we go. Vic knows the vibes.
I know it. Listen, nice. talking about great things in the UAE, and you know, brands and big names. Kevin Hart has just announced his new tour, which is the Reality Check Tour, and his first stop on the 22nd of February in 2023 next year is Abu Dhabi, which is no surprise.
We're gonna be busy. We're gonna be busy if he comes, I reckon.
Oh right, I thought you meant on the night. Yeah, well, I think so.
Yeah. We're probably quite hectic because we're obviously doing more stuff in Abu Dhabi right now. So let's see how that plays out. So that's good news for us from a business point of view. I love his movies and I love his interviews. His stand-up hasn't rattled me. It doesn't really rattle me to my core. But I would definitely go and watch it. And if we do have to go and watch it for work, or if work creates a situation where we go watch it, then yeah, I'm fully down for that. I'd like to see it. He is a legend right now. He has joined that A league of really successful people who are primarily in comedy. So yeah, I would be keen for that. Other dates include the 24th of April in Birmingham, UK, 25th, Manchester, UK, 26th, Amsterdam, 27th, over to London, 29th, Glasgow. I think I would even consider popping into a couple of these, but, you know, obviously if it's in Abu Dhabi, it'd be much easier.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, look, if regardless, I mean, look, the pre-sales go on sale, pre-sale tomorrow.
Yeah.
And I think they're going to be sold out within a matter of, you know, an hour, 2 hours. I reckon these are going to be really hot tickets. I reckon
in these markets. So selling out in an hour is Dave Chappelle level demand. Do you think in these A markets, there's a bunch of, well, I guess there's one true A market, which is London, but then there's some big markets here. You reckon 1 hour?
Yeah, hour, maybe 2. But Kevin Hart, look, let's keep it all the way real. Kevin Hart is not seen as just a stand-up comedian. Dave Chappelle is. Kevin Hart is everything. You know, he's actor, comedian, producer. He's in food. He's in finance. He's in fitness. He has all his other little shows. He goes on and roasts Stephen A. Smith on the sports stuff in America. Like, he's huge and he's almost ubiquitous in entertainment. So there's an argument to be made that he's bigger than Dave Chappelle.
So it's a very good point. Yeah. He's definitely a bigger star.
Compelling.
Yeah.
Yeah. And more compelling, sorry to interrupt, more compelling to a non-stand-up comedy fan, someone that's a fan of like general entertainment and therefore, or general comedy, should I say, where Kevin Hart fits in whether it be his movies or stand-up or whatever it may be. So I think he's got more star power, and he only does these massive arenas. Like, that's just all he does, you know? So I think, yeah, like maybe an hour's generous, maybe 2, maybe 3, but they'll be sold out in the day. Like, it's not going to last more than a day, you know?
So it's interesting because now you're talking about an arbitrage, which is that you're not necessarily going to see him do the greatest comedy work ever, but what you are going to do is get an hour's worth of conversation, stories, and jokes from a guy who really does live one of the most incredible superstar lifestyles ever. And he doesn't need to be as funny as a Chappelle or a Chris Rock. He just needs to be funny enough that he can be a little bit less funny than these people, but that gulf is made up with access or just the chance to see a star, tell some stories. You know, I'm sure there'll be the staging and the music and everything. The whole experience would be really cool. Get your hands on some merch. If you're a general fan, it's kind of like got a little bit of that meet and greet energy to it, but you're not obviously going to meet him and greet him, but you're going to be in the same room as him, knowing that he's good at it. Sorry, Alex, I cut you off.
No, I was just going to ask if you think there'll be a age restriction at his show, just because I know that a lot of his fans are, I'd say, on the younger side, right? Because of all his movies. Because he has a lot of like comedy movies that are, I would say, towards like 14 to 16-year-olds, even younger for some of his movies. And that just makes me think of all the kids who tell their parents they want to go to the show.
Dude, I wouldn't show, I mean, Ine's 9, but I wouldn't show most of Kevin Hart's movies, like Jumanji,
but I'm saying, I was saying like 14 to 16, not 9-year-old. Like,
I don't know about if he's ever had any age restrictions. His comedy is not for younger audiences,
which is usual.
So that might indicate that there's an age restriction.
Check the website.
It's not out yet.
Or it's not out. There's no other information out. It's just this.
Okay, I would assume in most markets it's probably going to be 18 and over.
Yeah,
I think 18 and over, and then in these venues, especially like Abu Dhabi, they'll just keep an eye out for people that make sure they're over a certain age if they want to buy alcohol. Maybe in Abu Dhabi it might be over 21.
Alex, are you going to buy Amsterdam tickets? Are you going to pre-sale?
I don't know. I'm thinking about it. It'd be interesting, right? I went to see him in Abu Dhabi long time ago.
Yeah, you mentioned.
Yeah.
That was your first show. We spoke about that on the
that was my first comedy show.
Yeah. And then a French
Jamel Debbouze.
That's it. Yeah.
Oh, he's even the name alone is so funny. God,
but he's pretty famous.
Yeah. God, it just conjures up amazing jokes in my mind. Classics. The booze is full of classics.
All the ones you understand.
It's like sometimes you find yourself in a situation and go, oh God, the booze has got such a good bit on this.
That was good.
Yeah. All right. Well, listen, let's wrap up because Vic's about to leave, and it's a nice story. It's a great story. It's really showing that is a story about one of my favorite people in the world. Jay-Z now is unfortunately going through a bit of a tricky time with Bacardi. It looks like Jay-Z wanted to sell his shares in Douce, which is a really nice drink, to be fair, back to Bacardi. And so in that kind of situation, we have to figure out how much is an appropriate amount to pay Jay-Z for his shares. In doing so, Bacardi came with a lowball number. May have prompted Jay-Z. He may have felt this way already about it, but he wanted to get an audit, find out how much Douce merchandise is there, how much stock is there, where is it held, anything that's of asset value to Douce. Bacardi did an audit, came back with some information. That information looks like it's suspiciously low. If that information is low, then that means you can ask for less money. And they're trying to probably buy him out on the cheap. Now they're both in a court case. Bacardi is saying that there's certain information that they cannot disclose because it points to other aspects of their business. It looks like they agreed to do this on somewhat of a handshake. But then once the due diligence was being done, which is very normal, that it turns out that Hove is not quite ready to do the deal, at least formally. And the court case could be worth up to, what was the amount? Was it? I mean, I think whatever.
Billion.
2 billion.
I think it's
right?
2 billion. Yeah, it's 2 billion.
2 billion, yeah.
But then
so the lawsuit is a $2 billion lawsuit. Now, in terms of the valuation of Douce post all of this, that's obviously remains to be seen. But that's the number that they've put on the lawsuit.
And I think whatever he does get from this, whether he wins the court case or he gets the acquisition size that he's looking for, this will take him from what's known to be at this stage, rumored to be $1.5 billion net worth to, I mean, I think it's going to push him past the 2 billion mark because we've seen, I think 50 did, I can't remember. There was one big acquisition that was like in the $280 million mark. I mean, Jay-Z was doing touring deals for 150 million. So whatever he's looking to do when it comes to getting rid of this, I think it's going to be in excess. At least his share will be in excess of, 500 million. So definitely something that's probably worth him putting his time on. I also imagine as well that when you are navigating and strategizing something like this, it probably takes a huge amount of headspace. I'm sure it's not something that raised its ugly head in the last couple of days. And so it makes you think, man, it's clear that I don't think Jay-Z is going to be putting out music for a little while whilst all this gets done. But the one that he did do, obviously he did the verse on God did this year, stole the whole album. But yeah, man, I think we can see this guy going past the $2 billion mark.
He needs to get that bag. Forget the music for a bit. He just needs to go and get that bag. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You think he even will make another album? No, right?
Yeah,
He
yeah.
Yeah, he will.
Yeah.
And
yeah, he will.
You think he'll tour again?
Yeah. Yeah. I think he will, yeah.
Yeah, I'll take Raj's word. I think so too. Raj is definitely the Jay-Z aficionado. But
yeah, I mean,
yeah, I agree.
That's why I was asking.
Yeah, no, I agree. Another album and another tour is on the cards. But like Raj said, I agree. Probably not for another 12 months at least, till all this is over and settles down.
I think Jay-Z, if he wanted to, would probably want to do, there's certain amount of streams equal a physical copy. I don't think people are going to stream an album by him at the same volume that they would do a more contemporary artist. So I think what Jay-Z is going to do is Jay-Z is probably going to put out albums now that are basically closer to like books or manuals about life, like 444 was. And if he said, look, one of the conditions of, me putting out an album is that I need X amount in pre-sales, I think he could pre-sell 150K. I definitely think he could.
Album copies.
Because a physical album copy is worth X amount of streams. Like there are people that are saying that the actual like printed pressed copies of Drake and 21's album, I think was somewhere like 12 or 30 something thousand physical copies. It's nothing.
It's nothing,
What that means is that if you've got a physical copy, then that has a relative number of spins attached, and the spins are distilled down into what would be a physical copy equivalent. But even Drake right now, if he wanted to, if he said, listen, I need 200,000 physical copies, orders placed before I print this music to it. And I don't care whether you play the CD or you don't. I just need that commitment from you, that revenue. I think it could totally happen. Totally happen.
Well, let's wait and see. I mean, I think this guy knows what he's doing, obviously, and I think he's going to get the bag, man. I think he's going to get a good bag out of this.
Nice,
Everyone's
nice.
going to get paid.
Cool. Okay, out and about. Alex, you said before the show, no out and about for you.
All I've been doing is watching the World Cup and working.
Hey, speaking of watching the World Cup, can you just go back a few messages to our group chat just between me, you, and Vic, the company one?
Yeah.
Where I was like setting up the time, which was yesterday.
Setting up the time. Yes.
Yeah. So you said tomorrow evening would work better for me if that works for both of you, to which I replied,
Yep, I can record in the evening between 6 and 1 up to 90 minutes.
Alex, between?
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
You didn't get it because you weren't triggered. And then Vic said,
Bro, I didn't clock it, but now I do. But the timings made sense with your schedule. Like 6 p.m. to like 1 a.m. I'm free to do this podcast.
That's the genius of it. And then I was gonna shove the knife in a bit deeper because Vic said sure Dubai time, and I said yeah, Dubai time's fine. We definitely won't need extra time. But I didn't write it. I was like, nah, I don't want to give it away. I said, being that he's not got it, we'll just mention it on the podcast. So looks like you got creamed, Alex. Switzerland got thumbed hardcore.
It was very disappointing because we actually played horrible compared to the group stage games. I don't even think it's a factor that Portugal played like an insane game. Like if Portugal played an insane game and Switzerland like played their regular game and we lose 6-1, sure. But it's just annoying when like Switzerland plays like horrible.
Why did they play horrible? What caused it?
I don't know. We played a 3 at the back. This whole World Cup, we've been playing a 4 at the back. There's so many reasons, right? Nerves, anything.
Well,
yeah, I think they got flustered, man. Like they definitely played. I don't mean that as a diss, but when you just look at it objectively, they definitely looked flustered when they were playing. So, well, there we go. And we were messaging. I was messaging with your dad as well.
Yeah.
And Shayla was messaging with you and your dad separately.
Yeah, and then Ine texted me in the morning.
Yeah. So just for context, Shayla is from Portugal. So obviously that was a fun evening for her.
Pylon. It was a Majaria pylon. Yeah. Well, listen. Speaking of football, heading into out and about in Dubai. We did really, I just saying before the call, like normally before the call, I go through my gallery because I basically take pictures every day of whatever the hell I'm doing. I found that it also helps me bring it to the podcast as well. But we really didn't do much this week. We've been working. I think I can clearly say that there's been at least 2 occasions where I've fallen asleep at my laptop. Yesterday was damn near like a slump. And then, so a lot of work going on. But we did head out one time this week on Tuesday, thanks to our good friend, Sudir Sayal. We were invited to a VIP experience at the Bud X fan zone. So I want to give a shout out to some of the folks in charge there. Jyoti and Bavesh had a great time hanging out with them and talking to them. And we also watched the football where Morocco played Spain, and another big upset, really.
Yeah,
Go on.
Go ahead.
Tell me your thoughts on the match, and then I'll tell you my thoughts on the fact.
I mean, I was more so because I've already spoken to Raj. Because Raj, but neither of you ever watched football, and you guys spent 120 minutes with 0 goals.
Yeah, it was a bit low ROI, but you know what? The vibe was pretty good. I knew.
Sure.
I obbed it. I was like, listen, we're gonna go because Sudir's a good dude. He has a super network in this city like I do. And I was told that if you go to his events and you hang out with him, you'll always have a good time. So we went there and everybody in the VIP section was super bright. Everybody was doing something interesting. And so I knew that whether it runs 90 minutes or 120, I'm going to be able to chop it up with people. And because you've got a bunch of hustlers in the VIP section, plenty of talking and conversating and learning going on. So from that perspective, it was really good. And then what was great is that once we got through that 120 minutes and it was down to the penalties, that was a really galvanizing moment. Now, obviously, Morocco is the only Arab representation still rocking this far into the World Cup. And so, as being an Arabic country, there was a sentimental attachment from people here. And so the vibe was incredible. Vic got one of the best videos of all time on his Android because Samsung is really good in low light. A lot of celebrations. It was good when Morocco scored. It was even better vibe-wise when Spain missed.
Yeah, I'm
well,
sure.
Why did Spain miss? I mean, Spain was missing like they were Japan the previous night.
I mean, it's tough because the Spanish managers told the players to each take 1,000 penalties before they got to the World Cup. to train because you don't have time to train penalties during training. But yeah, and they missed all of them. I don't know. I mean, you see, Switzerland did the same thing 2 years ago in the Euros against Spain. We missed our first 3 penalties. Like, if you're missing 3 penalties, like, you deserve to lose.
Right.
Like, there's no other way of putting it, right? Like, I mean, to be fair to the Moroccan keeper, it's not like the players missed, the keeper saved them. So that already, like, makes a little bit of a difference. But I don't know. You try and put it somewhere like tight corner, it hits the post, goes out. There's so many factors.
What's crazy is that, you know, like when you think about the matchup, you know, the matchup between Spain and Morocco, you know, obviously I don't know enough about football, but I know Spain's a more dominant team than Morocco. But Morocco basically just did one thing. They just stepped up. They said, like, we can't lose. And obviously they didn't, but they were like at every point, and it was like really back and forth, right? There was like a shot on goal one side, a shot on goal the other, shot on goal the other. And both goalies did really well. But yeah, they just cracked during the penalties. But I would say, so, you know, being in the fan zone, when we first got there, it was quite empty in the VIP. And then slowly, you know, the whole place started to fill out. And this place is phenomenal. Like, it's like planes, trains, and automobiles. You drive down to the Palm, you got to park, then you get a shuttle bus, then you walk, and then you know, like, there's a whole like series of things that you have to do. And I tell you what, man, that was an experience. It was a very, very, very solid experience. I can't imagine what it would have been down like in like the general population area where it was just wild.
My friend was there.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
But the whole experience was good, and not only that, really well executed, really well organized. You know, you don't see that. There was no like, oh, I got to wait, I got to do this. You know, what's going on here? Where am I? You know, there was none of that. It was very seamless, very smooth, and actually just a really solid experience, man. Like a really, really solid experience. I think maybe next World Cup I'll definitely book some seats there if I'm around.
Yeah, it was good. That wasn't just because we're in the VIP section. Down in the fruit market at the bottom, everyone was looking like they were having a decent time as well. So yeah, not a bad day to be general population.
Vic, you were saying it's ticketed, right? So you buy a ticket and then.
Well, I'm not sure. We were very graciously, you know, we
got the hookup.
The VIP experience, you know what I mean? So Sudir and Jyoti and Bhavish, they all hooked it up. And yeah, like, I don't know. I think you just reserve online, you pay, and you reserve online, you rock up. There's like general population where you stand. Then just behind that, there's like bean bags. And just behind that is like, you know, VIP section, like the first kind of rung of VIP section where there's like, you know, like chairs and tables.
Yeah.
Then there's where we were, where it was much bigger, sofas and all that. And then there was behind us, which was like massive like booths with the TVs inside as well. Like the kind of VIP sections that you get in the Miami or Vegas clubs, like the big super clubs where you get the big like booths and stuff. That's for like the VVIPs, and it's got the biggest screen in the region, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, definitely the UAE. So yeah, it was popping.
It'd be
really
good. Sick to get down there for the final. I'm sure. Yeah. I'm sure the vibes are crazy.
Yeah, 18th, right, is the final. We'll have to see. Yeah. Well, if we do it, you know, actually, I thought Alex, you came into your own this week when you were talking about football. So that was well done. I liked it. It's pretty insightful. So good, amazing. That's it. And obviously we had National Day this weekend. I think everyone was just exhausted, so we just chilled out. I went to Vic's for a bit, kicked it with the in-laws, Vic's in-laws. Yeah. Had a good old time.
We watched the Portugal match here as well. That's what we did.
And we found out that Ine doesn't really like football, if we're being super honest about it.
Really?
He just is. It's not to the point where like a thoroughbred would be like glued to the screen. He was he's got things going on, man. He'll be doing deals, I'm telling you, very soon. So so that's it. So it was a good old time, really good old time. Shout out to everybody who had celebrated National Day. Big up UAE 51. And then finally, when it comes to shout outs, you got any shout outs, Alex?
Not specifically.
No. Alex, you need to start shouting out like the hottest people in your university and then sending the podcast to them and then giving them a shout out. As yet, I've not had anybody DM me and be like, yo, man, I go to university with Alex. I listen to him on the podcast and, you know, I know about the podcast. That's it. So you're doing a terrible job in the 4Ps when it comes to promotion, and you don't even show up for some of the production as well. So we're going to need you to pull your finger out in 2023 and start I'm going to need to get stickers made for the Raj Kotecha show.
Season.
Yeah, I want to see it. I want to see stickers for Raj Kotecha show all over Amsterdam. You know, I might be coming in February.
Really? For
Yeah,
what reason? Just like that?
just
Or
just to take care of some bits and pieces. But like, I might have to come down there, and if I do, but it's kind of like could be between there and Riyadh, which is real pull in two very opposite directions. So
yeah.
we'll see how that goes. Okay, wrapping up with
But
shout outs.
yeah, we have a big shout out. I think I'll let you lead this shout out, Raj.
No,
We
you
have one
lead
big.
it. You lead it.
So 2 days ago, I think it was 2 days ago, I listened to Channel 4 radio with my son when I do the school run in the mornings. He's a big fan of JJ and Nimi show. And we heard on the radio, she announced that she is leaving the Channel 4 show. I think she's been there for around 4 years, if I'm not mistaken.
5 years.
Along those 5 years now. Yeah.
Yeah.
So she's moving on to do, I don't know yet what, but I'm sure bigger, better, and great things. So for anyone that doesn't know, Nimi was a client of our agency in 2019.
Yeah, she graduated the 4Ps.
She graduated from the 4Ps, started her podcast, started doing some kind of live events and hosting, and has, through a lot of hard work and an extreme amount of talent, has gone on to do some really, really great things in that world as well, and continue to grow her podcast, continue to do amazing live events, hosting big events, and continue to do great on the radio show. But yeah, it's I think it's probably time for her to move on, maybe 5 years on, or whatever it might be. But I wish her the best of luck.
Nice, good. Yeah, big up to Nimi. One of the things that from a business point of view, one of the things that makes certain clients really, really exceptional contributors to the relationship that you have with your client is that they also bring a lot to the relationship. And it's not just paying your fees, but it's also coming up with ideas. And also what I remember about Nimi, there's a couple of things when she was working with us at the beginning of this, her building her media thing, was that she's got a lot of original ideas that she's come up with. If you have an opinion that's directly opposing her, she'll fight her corner and win. If she'll if it's a better idea, like we were not convinced that Everything Legit was the right name for the podcast, and she made her case and she ran with it and she owned it and she actually made that brand blossom, which was really good. And then also as well, like when it comes to our case studies, like people know that Vic and I have worked with, the Wu-Tang Clan and Russell Peters and Gary Vaynerchuk and all these other people, but a lot of the people that we work with are through our clients, and we can't work with huge people through our clients unless our clients have ambitions to play at that level. And so a lot of the people that we've made content with as producers has been with our clients. And one of those clients that brought an incredible amount of like huge brands into the ecosystem, for example, the managing director of Spotify, Liza Koshy, Steve Harvey, Mark Manson, Steve Madden, so many different huge celebrities that she said, this is part of my vision, all came through Nimi. So, steel sharpens steel. And she really did a thing. And also another thing as well is, if you ever get to see her in a photo shoot, which I understand that basically no one's going to get the chance to do, it's one of the most miraculous things ever, because like the time that the half trigger is pressed, she can be talking and doing whatever she's doing. As the exposure opens on the camera, she hits the look and then she just goes back to talking again. So she literally, it's like a DJ when a DJ can hit a beat or scratch on beat. Or like, when Michael Jackson was dancing, you're like, well, how's he hitting those moves? Like, how's he even hearing those beats? So she was like that. So yeah, big up to her, man. And she's big up to her family for having a lot of belief in her and supporting her. They were a big part of the process when we started working with us. So yeah, onwards and upwards. I don't know. I think if anybody was to leapfrog and go from what she's doing to something incredibly big, like an Apple or something like that, could be her. Who knows? But big up to her. Wish you all the best.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, content recommendations.
Okay,
Alex, have you got content recommendations?
I started a new TV show on Netflix, which I love.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, Ozark. I know it's not a new show, but it is. I just started watching it, and so far, so good. I really enjoy it, yeah.
There's a lot of seasons to get through, though. It's going to be a commitment.
It's 4 seasons. It's not too bad. And I think it's not like 20 episodes per season. I think it's closer to the 10. So it's not like too long.
Okay.
Raj, you know Alex's uni schedule. He's got plenty.
Yeah,
of time.
I'm chilling.
He'll finish that this week.
The guy's chilling, sleeps through episodes, and hasn't done any edits for weeks. I think we need to start. If he finishes Ozark in the next 2-3 days, that means we're not giving him enough to do on this podcast.
Dude, he sleeps through the episodes that he's on, not just the ones that he misses.
Well, listen, next week as well. Speaking of which, we've got a special episode. It's episode 50 of the Raj Kotecha Show, #1 podcast in Dubai. So we're going to be getting all of our editorial team on. Whilst we're doing shout outs before we wrap that up, we're going to give shout outs to our team, the algotorial team, we call them, which is, of course, I wanted to say them in the same order that I do every single week. Arjun, Bal, Jessel, Kish. Kish is in Dubai. Maybe we'll have him on the podcast in person soon. Kyron, Neil. Neil's on his way to Dubai. Sal and Wes. So big up to you guys for sending in stories. So that's Alex's content recommendation. Vic, what's yours?
Yeah, so mine is Ramesh Ranganathan. He's a comic out of the UK and kind of overall TV personality. He does a lot of hosting, and he has all these kind of little breakout shows that he does with other comedians, and also his mum, who is extremely funny. So he's got a new stand-up special called The Cynic, which is effectively the best way to describe his personality. That's exactly the best way to describe it. And he does it in a place called Crawley in London, which is where he grew up. And if anyone knows Crawley, and anyone that doesn't, it's basically not a nice area at all. It's a bit, whatever. But he's from there, and he said that I want to take it back there. And he's done a bunch of shows ready for that, and he's taking it back there. I think that it is a really, really solid stand-up special. More so because, not so much in a traditional sense, Ramesh Ranganathan hasn't got this kind of traditional comedic style where it's just set up and punchline, set up and punchline, set up and punchline, or one-liners. He has very much a kind of personal conversational style in the way he delivers his jokes. So sometimes you think you're just having a conversation with him and he's just telling you like a story. It doesn't feel like a bit. Mm-hmm. So I like that. But what's really interesting about this one, just to put a kind of cap on it, it's in 2 episodes. The first episode is the stand-up special itself, about an hour long. The next episode is about a 30-minute long piece where he's got a camera crew following him around on the lead up to the stand-up special, but specifically from the point where he tells his mum, his brother, his wife, and his kids that he's doing this stand-up special, and then just like a reaction, and just him going back to his old school and going to different places and just interacting with his mum. Really, really solid piece. I think that was very good. And then the other content recommendation I have is a trailer. I think Sal sent it on the group chat, which is You People, which is a new film by Jonah Hill, written by Jonah Hill and starring Jonah Hill, along with Eddie Murphy and Nia Long. So the trailer's out. It's about a minute long. It looks solid. It looks really good. So yeah, 3 solid stars there as well.
Yeah, You People is obviously a term, for those unfamiliar, is something that can be said by mistake and be triggering and cause an argument because you're objectifying people. And the through line of this appears to be the case that Jonah Hill, white guy, big fat funny white guy, it looks like he's dating the daughter of the characters of Eddie Murphy and Nia Long. And just, obviously America having its diversity set up that it does, it can lead to something. Hilarity ensues, as they say on the pitch. So that looks pretty good. Speaking of which, my content recommendation, which I've not written down, but my content recommendation for this week is Jonah Hill Stutz, which is a conversation between Jonah Hill and his real life therapist, Phil Stutz. Jonah Hill gets into some real depth about his relationship with his mom, his relationship with fame, his yo-yoing or bad relationship with weight and his physical appearance. It's incredible. It's a 2-way conversation where even the therapist opens up. It's highly recommended. And I'll tell you why it's highly recommended, because I feel like social media has presented mental health and associated subjects like motivation and anxiety and things like that in a very superficial way, where you get people saying stuff which is just really hollow. It's a bunch of catchphrases and there's nothing actionable about it. In this documentary, the therapist is actually drawing on a piece of paper actionable models and analogies that you can apply straight away. So it's incredibly good, highly recommended. I know there's a lot more people now getting into mental health, and I feel like this could be to mental health what something like Live Aid was for inspiring people to go and join a rock group. It's like you're going to look at it and go, okay, I see now. When you talk to an actual therapist about mental health, as opposed to like a Lewis Howes clip or a Stephen Bartlett clip or whatever, something which is it's catchy and it's snackable, but it's not really going into a lot of actionable depth. This is really, really good. It's a long form piece of content. It's beautifully shot. It's very raw. I would highly recommend it.
I don't know if you mentioned, but it is on Netflix for anybody who wants to watch it.
Thank you so much. It's so good to have you back, Alex. You've really delivered
welcome
today.
I got you.
Yeah. Intermittent Alexing has really leveled up this episode of the podcast. I do hope you've enjoyed it. Anything else anybody want to say?
That's it from me.
That's it from me.
Okay, it's SoleDXB this weekend, guys. Make sure you join us 2 p.m. at the Def Jam area for a 30-minute mix by me and 15-minute interview. And then this weekend at SoleDXB, an incredible Love Soul experience at the stand of our favorite brand in the city, AmongstFew. We are going to be doing 2 90-minute sets. I can't even tell you how excited we are to get these out and get you to hear them. We're going to be on the set with some incredible people. 4:00 Saturday and 2:30 on Sunday, the 11th. 90-minute sets. Vic and I come and have a great time with us. If you enjoyed this show, make sure you give us a 5-star rating and review wherever you can. Just give us the maximum amount of likes and positivity you can on any platform, including YouTube. Subscribe and comments are also, we're just super grateful for them. And hit the share button if anybody wants to go check it out. That's it until next week. Next week's episode 50. We got some cool stuff planned. Everybody else, have a great night. And come and see us at SoleDXB this weekend. Peace.